It was a Saturday morning in the quiet neighborhood of Pine Grove, the kind of stillness that Mark Thompson had come to cherish. Birds chirped, a lawnmower hummed in the distance, and the occasional bark of a dog filled the air. Mark was in his garage, elbow deep in a finicky old generator, grease on his hands and sweat on his brow. Out front, his wife of 21 years, Sarah, tended to her garden, her sanctuary of color and life. She wore a faded cap, dirt on her knees, and hummed as she worked. In the center of their lawn stood a tall flagpole, the American flag swaying gently, a tribute to Sarah's brother, Marine Lance Corporal David Carter, lost in Iraq. That flag was untouchable, a symbol of love and loss. Then came the pounding. Not a knock, but a heavy, rhythmic thud against the front door. 3 hits, a pause, then 3 more, louder, demanding. Sarah glanced up, her hand on her hip, a habit when something felt off. Mark didn't hear it at first, the garage fan drowning out the noise, but the second round of knocks cut through. Sarah brushed dirt from her jeans, turned off the hose, and headed to the porch, her face puzzled. Was it a delivery? An inspector? She didn't get halfway before a sharp cry pierced the air, raw, panicked, wrong. Mark froze. His tools clattered to the concrete. His boots hit the ground hard as he bolted toward the house, his heart pounding. Something had crossed a line, and he was about to find out what. Sarah opened the door cautiously, her politeness a reflex. 2 strangers stood on the porch, dressed in near-official uniforms. Navy polos with stitched patches, khaki pants, black boots. The patches read, Community Enforcement Division, over a vague emblem, not quite police, not quite anything, but close enough to fool the unprepared. The shorter man, stocky with a clipboard, wore a practiced look of authority. The taller one, wiry and tense, stood back, his stare too aggressive, too hungry for control. Mrs. Thompson? The shorter one barked, barely waiting for her nod. We're here about your HOA violation. That flagpole exceeds height limits, obstructs views, and disrupts visual harmony. Sarah blinked, caught off guard. The flag? She said, her voice steady but sharp. It's for my brother. He was a Marine, killed in Fallujah. It's been up since we buried him. This is our land, and it's staying. Her words carried quiet pride unshaken. The shorter man's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. The taller one stepped forward, his face blank. Without warning, his hand shot up and struck Sarah's cheek, not loud, but sharp, final. She staggered back, her hand flying to her face, eyes wide with shock, not just from pain but from the audacity. Enough stories, the tall man snapped. Rules are rules. Time froze. Then, from the garage, a metallic clang echoed, a wrench hitting concrete. Mark had heard the cry, the silence, the insult. He stood, wiped his hands on a rag, and moved toward the house with a stillness that screamed danger. He didn't shout. He didn't run. He knew the silence before a storm. The screen door slammed open as Sarah stood frozen, her hand on her cheek. Mark stopped on the porch, his eyes flicking between her and the 2 men. The world tilted. Sarah's gaze met his, pleading for this to be unreal. The men stood casual, unapologetic, as if they'd done this before. We're HOA enforcement, the shorter one said, flashing a badge that gleamed too cleanly, too lightly, fake. Final warning. Mark didn't respond. He saw the red mark on Sarah's cheek, her trembling hands, her shock. That was enough. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowed, not wild, but cold, controlled. He stepped back, closed the door softly, and walked inside. His boots echoed on the hardwood, steady, purposeful. Past photos of their wedding, their daughter's graduation, 4th of July barbecues. Past David's framed portrait, forever young in his Marine uniform. Mark felt the weight of every memory as he entered the study and knelt before a locked oak cabinet. From his pocket he pulled a worn key. The safe clicked open. Inside, handguns, documents, and a lockbox. But he reached for what lay behind, wrapped in dark cloth, a Barrett .50 cal rifle. He unwrapped it with care, checked the chamber, and slung it over his shoulder. Each step back to the porch was sharper, grounded. When he opened the door, the world had changed. The wind had died. The birds were silent. The two men stiffened, their swagger gone. The rifle rested on Mark's shoulder, unraised but undeniable. 5 seconds, he said, voice low, final. Start walking. The air crackled. The shorter man twitched, his mouth opening as if to protest, but his eyes locked on the rifle, and the words died. The taller one, the one who'd struck Sarah, broke first. He stumbled back, nearly tripping, and bolted for their SUV. The shorter one followed, his clipboard falling to the porch. They slammed the doors and peeled out, tires squealing. Mark stood still, watching until the SUV vanished. Only then did he exhale, not in relief, but control. Sarah stepped out, her hand on her cheek, eyes wide but unbroken. She looked at the empty driveway, the abandoned clipboard, then at Mark. Call the sheriff, he said, voice steady. Let's do this right. It wasn't just about them anymore. It was about ensuring no one else faced this. Sheriff Daniels arrived quickly, a veteran who'd seen it all. Mark sat at the dining table, a USB drive blinking in his laptop. The porch camera had caught everything, every knock, every word, the slap, the rifle, the retreat. Daniels watched in silence, his brow furrowing. That's Carl Wesson, he said, pointing at the shorter man. Runs a shady toe scam in Lakeside. His buddy's probably Vince. He leaned back. They're not HOA. They're nothing. No permits, no authority, just liars. Mark nodded. He'd known. Real power doesn't need to shout. Reports had trickled in before, vague complaints about compliance officers harassing residents. But no one had proof until now. Sarah stood by the wall, arms crossed, her cheeks still red but her eyes burning with resolve. They picked the wrong house, Mark said quietly. Daniels nodded. And the biggest mistake of their lives. Within days, the story spread, not through headlines but whispers. A neighbor stopped Sarah. They came to us about our mailbox color. We paid them. Posts flooded local forums. From Lakeside to Post Falls, victims shared stories of fake uniforms, fake rules, and fake power. Sheriff's offices were swamped with leads, photos, and doorbell footage. Warrants were issued. Carl was nabbed at a gas station, Vince at a traffic stop. The scam unraveled, dubbed the HOA imposter ruse by local news. Mark declined interviews. This isn't about fame, he told the deputy. It's about stopping them. But his stand lit a fire. Sarah ordered a bigger flag, 10 by 15 feet, bold, unapologetic. They raised it together, no contractors, just them under the sky. Neighbors honked in approval, stopped to share stories. The flag wasn't just a tribute now, it was a statement. A month later, Mark found a letter in the mail, no return address. A woman wrote of her son, shaken by two men claiming his bike violated community code. He'd seen Mark's story online, refused to engage, and told her everything. You gave us permission to speak, she wrote. You protected us all. Mark folded the letter and sat with Sarah on the porch, the flag waving under a starry sky. Think they'll try again? She asked. Mark sipped his coffee, smiling. They'd be stupid to. Some call Mark a hero, others say he went too far. Was the rifle justice or a reckless threat? Did he protect his home or escalate a volatile moment? The line between right and wrong blurs, and that's why this story burns so bright. It's not just about a man and a gun, it's about standing up when no one else will, about the cost of silence, about the power of one choice to change everything. What do you think? Was Mark's stand a triumph of courage or a dangerous gamble? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's spark a debate. And hey, speaking of standing up, have you ever faced a moment where you had to draw a line? Share your stories, we're all ears. Hit that like button if this story got your blood pumping, and subscribe for more real-life dramas that make you think. Let's keep the conversation going.